Welcome back for another video. Well, it's 2023 and I'm going to continue on with these collection videos. I would like to say, starting off, I am on a temporary schedule change at work, so that's going to kind of it might affect my ability to record several videos in a week. We'll see what happens. I mean, I may end up being able to record more because I have more time between shifts, between days, work days, to do this. So we'll see how it works out. It may work out, better than my original or permanent schedule. So I'm gonna show my Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance collection here. This is an update. Oh, let's throw a few of the others into the mix right quick. Sorry for the pillows, but we'll start off with the Game Boy games first, and I'll start off with the new additions to the collection. So we got Japanese edition of Super Mario Land. Since these are not text heavy games, I decided to get the Japanese versions. I thought they were interesting, and I got them all from the same seller, so I got a pretty good deal. So Super Mario Land, never really played much of this game. Played it on my Raspberry Pi 3 when I had it. Liked what I played, and yeah, great game. Japanese edition with the alternate artwork. Sticking with Game Boy, and I'll show all the Game Boy games and Game Boy Color and etc. So Wario Land, Japanese edition. There is some text in this, like for the menu, so I was kind of lost on where to go, but there's ways around that. You can look up English text in videos and screenshots and whatnot. But again, with this game, I hadn't played much of it. Really enjoyed what I played. I did play some of this on my Raspberry Pi, and liked it. So yeah, great platforming game. It is challenging, but not too challenging. You just really gotta learn the levels and learn how to get the open certain the skull doors or whatever, portals. I'm not sure. Not too familiar with this game series of games. Alright, so those are shown. Put these in a pile. Japanese edition of, Kirby's Dream Land 2. Again, this had, the Japanese text for saving and whatnot and exiting the game, but I worked around that. But neat alternate artwork. Never actually played this game, and it does have a color palette when you play on the Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Color I don't own anymore. I sold that in my original Game Boy, which had the missing screen protector and kind of beat up. But yeah, I got a solution for that. Got Analogue Pocket coming in the mail. Ordered that last year, so it'll be here within the week. This week possibly, or probably this weekend, so I'll show that later on. Paperboy, very similar to the NES version of the game, just black and white. Just classic arcade Paperboy. If you never played this game, this is a good way to play it, or even the NES version. And then you have the Midway collections on PSP, PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. But I have the PS2 Midway collections, as well as the one on PlayStation 3 as well. Just picked that up not too long ago. All these games can be had pretty cheap, I believe. Haven't really checked on prices much lately. They do fluctuate, especially on eBay. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Back from the Sewers. Excellent game. I showed this in my Turtles collection not too long ago. I wish this was original to from my original childhood collection, but it is not. But yeah, fantastic game, arcade style beat 'em up, side scroller. Can be kind of challenging. Sorry if you can hear some background noise. I have a neighbor that's working on their truck. There's not much I can do about it. So, sorry, I gotta rearrange some stuff here. Sunsoft's Batman. This probably won't see a re-release. I don't know who owns these IPs now, but great side-scrolling black and white game. Really looking forward to playing this on the Analogue Pocket. I'm deciding whether I want to jailbreak it or not and play other systems on it that were not included in the original core. But yeah, can't go wrong with this one. Same with the NES Batman. That's a great one too. Here's a game that is original to my childhood collection. It was my brother's game, so it barely works. But Bars versus the Juggernauts. Great little, I think it's side-scrolling. I think the starting level, you're on a skateboard. There's a possibility I'll replace this in the future, but it's kind of dirty. You know, it needs a little bit of a cleaning, but otherwise it works most of the time. This game is also my brother's. Donkey Kong Land 2. I did get the Donkey Kong Land on the 3DS eShop. Not sure if it's still available. I think this is the Player's Choice Edition too. Hang on, I gotta look at it. I can't see that label. Yep, this Player's Choice, but it does, you know, have the banana yellow cart, which is really neat. Great little side-scrolling game. It is totally slightly different than the Donkey Kong Country games, but still a lot of fun. Highly recommend all these games I'm showing. I recommend buying it a lot if you can. You'll get the games cheaper that way, less expensive, more affordable. So Kirby's Dream Land, great game. Also has a color palette for the Game Boy Color and GBA. And as well as the if you play it on the Super Game Boy on Super Nintendo, or even Analog Super NT, which that's how I play my Super Game Boy games. They look the best on the Super NT on a high-def television. Yeah, great side-scrolling game. You're Kirby going around killing bosses. You know, climbing up in levels, airing up Kirby and going up. And there's boss battles as well. Just great classic Kirby. Cannot go wrong with the classic Kirby games. I'll probably get the new Kirby game on Switch. Not entirely sure when I'll get that. Probably when the price goes down. But Metroid 2, Return of Samus. Excellent game. Had this in the original childhood collection. Yeah, so I'll bust this out right now, and then also have it on the 3DS digital copy, of course. Yeah, very enjoyable game if you're into the Metroid series. This came after Metroid, of course. Sorry, it's early for me. So yeah, there's that. Dr. Mario. Can't go wrong with this one. This one also has a color palette. Same with Metroid 2. If you play on the Super Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and then Game Boy Advance. This game is similar to Tetris, as you have to match the different colored pills. Just match up, you know, red to red, blue to blue, or, you know, black to black and white to white, in order to progress in the game and kill the monsters. Would be cool if Nintendo did a updated version of that game. It's been quite some time since they have. So continuing onward, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX. I do have the box for this, and I believe the manual, and I'll show that in my Zelda collection when I reshoot that video. I'm just kind of pressed for time right now, so I'm not going to show the boxes for some of these. Some of the boxes I'll just show in my Super Nintendo collection, since it is Nintendo related, but with this game, it's in color versus the black and white edition, but you can play in black and white on the Super Game Boy. I believe you can actually activate the black and white as well on the Game Boy Advance. I'm not sure, but yeah, save file still works on this one. Yeah, just Link's Awakening. Yeah, you guys know the story on this one. If you haven't played it, highly recommended. Excellent game. Here's what was a part of that Japanese small lot that I bought, or it's a lot that I put together. Warrior Land 2. Pretty good game. Like the other Japanese, like the other titles I said I wasn't familiar with, this is another game that I just didn't own back in the day, and but enjoying it so far. Yeah. Now for the Game Boy more of the Game Boy Color games. Mr. Nuts bought this after seeing some footage of it and liked what I saw. It's made by Infogrames. Side scroller, you're playing as the squirrel Mr. Nuts. Killing enemies, I think you can just jump on them. I haven't played this in quite some time. Probably just pop it in and play it here soon. It doesn't look like it has a save functionality. I don't see the battery in here. But yeah, great game. I think it's also on the Super Nintendo. Maybe that was an unreleased game. Maybe it's a Europe only game for the Super Nintendo, but yeah. Super Mario Deluxe, a port of the original Super Mario game on NES, ported to the Game Boy Color. As far as I know, my save still works, and they added a overworld in this, and in the castle that you have to, make that certain jump sequence to get through. That has been altered. Now you hear a beeping noise or bing if you do it correctly. That way you know you've done it correctly. That's not a huge challenge. If you watch someone do it, you can do it yourself. But yeah, classic Mario on the NES, or classic NES Mario on the Game Boy Color. So now on to the Game Boy Advance titles. I think I have them all out. I don't believe that I stowed any away elsewhere. I think this is it. I want to say. Don't have a lot, but so we'll start with the Mario games. Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2. This game is, of course, originally on the Super Nintendo. I don't think there's a lot of improvements. There's added Mario dialogue when you jump and stuff, or get a one-up. The saves, I think, are exactly the same as in the original. Maybe you can save at any time when you're in the overworld. I don't remember. But since I can play this on the Switch now, I don't really play this that much. Same with this game, Super Mario 2. This is Super Mario Advance. Some of these games also include the original, or the arcade version of Super Mario Brothers, where you're coming out of the pipes and jumping around and killing the Goombas and getting coins. But the graphics have been updated. But yeah, great game. I don't actually own Super Mario 2 for the Super Nintendo. Just played on flashcard and on this, but I haven't popped this in a while. But yeah, Super Mario 2 with updated graphics. Great game. Recommended. Okay, sticking with Nintendo IPs here. Oh, we'll go to that next. Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3. This is with updated graphics. This is pretty much the same as the Super Mario Brothers 3 on the Super Mario All-Stars on Super Nintendo. Really good game. Has the save functionality, just like the original game does on Super Nintendo. Wish they'd done that on the NES version, but this is a great updated version. If you get the scannable cards, you can get the extra levels. I believe those are also included in the Wii edition or Wii U edition. Unfortunately, that is no longer available to Wii owners through the Nintendo eShop, but there are other means of getting them and playing them through emulation. Stick with something Mario related. This is part of the classic NES series, Donkey Kong. I thought I had Metroid for the Game Boy Advance. No, I don't. You know, classic arcade Donkey Kong here. Very probably just ported down from the NES version, uh, which that was pretty close to the arcade version too. But yeah, classic Donkey Kong. You're going up the ladders and metal trusses to get to Donkey Kong and Princess Toadstool or Princess Peach. There actually is a new VR version of this game, just the first level, which is pretty cool. I saw someone showcase that on their channel here recently. Yeah, you can get this on the Switch and the NES games on the subscription service, as well as the arcade version on the Switch, and there's other means to emulate the game as well. Metroid Zero Mission, excellent game, very close to the Super Nintendo Super Metroid. I'm gonna go through this one when I get my Analogue Pocket just to play it in on a better screen. But yeah, Metroid Zero Mission. It's like an upgrade over the Super Nintendo version of Super Metroid. I'm pretty sure these are all official cartridges as well. I haven't checked into some of them, but they all function properly, so I'm gonna assume that they are real. Yeah, Metroid Zero Mission. Maybe I'll get the other Metroid on. That's for the Game Boy Advance. Okay, still sticking with the Nintendo IPs. We got a few more here. F-Zero GP Legend. This is the better of the F-Zero games on the Game Boy Advance. Very similar to the Super Nintendo version, but it's like just slightly better graphics and controls. I think I've actually beat this one a couple times. But yeah, if you're into racing games, this is a great one for the Game Boy Advance. As well as the Mario Kart game, which I might get because I've just been thinking about it. So, Zelda, A Link to the Past with 4 swords. I just play the Link to the Past on here. I really like it. Stuck in one dungeon, but I just play this on the Switch now, the Super Nintendo version. But yeah, if you want to play this on the go, if you don't have a Switch, this is a good alternative means to play the game if you want to play it on a Nintendo console handheld. So here we go, a couple more games. We'll do this. Final Fantasy 1 and 2. I actually accidentally picked up a bootleg version of this game, and is it still the one? No, I got rid of it. It froze on me, and I think it deleted my save. Then I looked at the label, and I realized it was just so cheap. It was so thin, you could see the cartridge behind it, the shell. And, yeah. But yeah, Final Fantasy 1 and 2, Dawn of Souls, remasters of Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Great little collection here. I think there's, of course, other Final Fantasy games on GBA, but I bought this just to get a feel for the games, and I'm going to pop this in and play this. There's also Final Fantasy collections on the PlayStation 2, I believe. I think there's some newer ones on the Switch and PlayStation 4. So yeah, Final Fantasy. Great little RPGs. Excuse me. Paperboy and Rampage. These are okay versions of the games. The hitbox in Paperboy has been, brought down drastically, so it does make the game more challenging. Rampage doesn't look that. It looks okay, and it's all playable. These both games are playable. If you just practice at them, you'll learn the caveats of each one. I'm sure this company, DSi, did their best to put these on the Game Boy Advance and make them playable on the system. There's more compilations like this out there. I opted not to get them since I already have the Midway collections. But yeah, that is the Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance collection that I have currently. So I do thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your comments and subscriptions.